Good morning, taste buds. How about some pie? I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. Pies are tasty and versatile. You can put most anything between a couple of pie crusts and you've got a great dinner or a great dessert. So join me today because today the pie's the limit on SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein and welcome to the Goya Kitchen here at JA World in Coconut Creek, and welcome to SoFlo Taste. January 23rd is National Pie Day, and since the people who award such prestigious designations didn't think that one day was enough recognition for the pie, so they went ahead and made February National Pie Month. So I thought it would be fun to help you celebrate the day and the month by giving you some pie recipes of mine to commemorate the pie. So let's get cooking. The first pie we're going to make is a hand pie. You can hold the whole pie in your hand. It's kind of like a sweet empanada. Let's go ahead and make the dough. It's a pretty simple dough, and I like using a food processor to do that. Certain pies I do not make in a food processor when I need the dough to be a little bit more flaky and a little bit more delicate. But in the hand pie case, you can go ahead and make it in here because you want a little bit more elasticity. So we're going to go ahead and add lots of butter and flour to this. Now I don't add sugar to this dough, but you can add a pinch of sugar if you want to. This is getting baked and the sugar will caramelize a lot in the oven, so I'm just going to go without it. I am adding a little bit of kosher salt though. So let's go ahead and run the food processor until it's kind of like cornmeal. All right. So that looks pretty much like cornmeal. The next thing I'm going to add is some apple cider vinegar, but you don't want to add too much because you don't want to affect the flavor. So just a little bit of vinegar. And then finally, I've got some ice cold water that we put in the freezer, so it's really, really cold. You can always just throw some ice in water, but of course you want to strain that before you start this process. And we're just going to do it until it comes together. Stop before you're ahead, and as you see the dough's just starting to come together, you want to stop. You want to basically bring that dough all together, flatten a little bit, and then wrap it in plastic wrap just like we've done. I throw this into the fridge, and this will give you more than enough dough to make a dozen hand pies depending on how big your hand pies are. This is my dough round, and you'll see that they're not perfect, and really for me it's all about the crispiness of the dough as well as the filling. So let's talk a little about the filling. I really love to use whatever is seasonal, and right now pears are so good. You can either go all pear, or you can be like me and go about 2-to-1 apple to pear. So that's what you have here. These are peeled and diced, and you can chunk them in any way. They don't have to be perfect at all. And to mix this up, I've got some vanilla extract, some candied ginger. You know that candied ginger that sometimes we use over the holidays? We cut them up tiny and they're so yummy in here. If you don't like ginger and the kids don't like it, just omit that. I've got a little bit of flour. I'm just gonna squeeze about 1/4 of a lemon, some ground cinnamon, and then a little bit of brown sugar because we do need sweetness. Remember, we don't, again, have sweetness in the dough, so you're going to need sweetness somewhere. So that's where it's going to be. It's going to be in the filling. So let's go ahead and mix this together. And you really want to distribute everything. We need to coat the apples and the pears really well in the flour more than anything. So once you have this all together, let's go ahead and form our pies. Usually, let's say 4 to 5 inches of dough should take about 2 tablespoons. And here I have about 6 inches of dough, so maybe I'll go about 3 tablespoons. You don't want to overfill, but you definitely don't want to underfill. Let's put a little here as well. And it's like shaping your basic empanada. And we're even going to use the little fork technique that my mother taught me growing up to make her empanadas. So I am going to egg wash this a little bit to make sure that it seals really well. So I already have egg wash for the top, but I just am gonna brush a little bit around the circumference of the dough. Okay, so now let's close them up. And I always work kind of like what I call like factory work. I do the same job. I don't finish the job before I jump into the next one. All right, so these should be pretty big and nice. So then make sure that the doughs are touching and pretty much equal. And then you're gonna take a little fork and go ahead and press them together, but just be careful not to break the dough at any point. Pretty simple, right? The kids can even do this part. Again, take the fork, press down at the ends. Don't push too hard. You don't want it to thin out too much. Okay. Now we're gonna brush them with the egg wash. Not too much. You just want them to have a lovely sheen. And we have some turbinado sugar. If you don't know what turbinado is, it's basically sugar in the raw. And we're just gonna dust these with a little sugar in the raw so they can have a good crunch when you bite into them. So let's top them with that. And then take a little paring knife and vent. Make 3 little slits for venting. And that's it. We're going into a 375-degree oven. Let's see how they come out. We have 2 absolutely delicious pies coming up next.
There's still more from the Goya Kitchen at J.A. World and Michelle.
Welcome back. Now back to some of my favorite recipes for National Pie Day. And by the way, do you know the top 5 North American pies in popularity? Well, here we go from the home office in Miami Shores, Florida. Drum roll, please. Number 5, key lime pie. Number 4, pot pie. I didn't see that one coming. Number 3, pecan pie. Number 2, pumpkin pie. And the number 1 most popular pie in North America, apple pie. Not really a surprise. Well, I'm not sure we needed a drum roll and fanfare for that one. It wasn't much of a surprise. So next pie I'm making for you today is a sort of a pot pie. I decided to give you a beef bourguignon pie. So I took a traditional idea of beef bourguignon, a little bit of Julia Child, a little bit of me, and created this beautiful beef stew. And I'm actually puffing the pastry now in the oven instead of wrapping it like I normally would. We're just gonna do it a little untraditionally. So there's a couple things we're gonna do right now. I'm gonna teach you how to start out this beef stew, the beef bourguignon, but we're also at the same time gonna make these delicious mushrooms and onions that are gonna go into that beef bourguignon as well. So I've already started searing off the meat, as you can see right here, and I've rendered some little tiny pieces of bacon. I took 2 strips of bacon, chopped them up, threw them in the pot, and they've all rendered down and they've started to kind of caramelize. And so what we have in here is a smell of this gorgeous like melange of beef and bacon together. So how you brown your beef is you just basically take a little either all-purpose flour, or if you want gluten-free flour, or in my case I'm actually using rice flour today because I am gluten-free, and I'm throwing that in the pot. As you can see, this is just gorgeous big chunks of delicious stewing meat that I got at my friends over at Delaware's Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, as well as obviously this gorgeous beef and all their chickens and turkeys and ducks. They also have, and they wanted me to remind you, fresh Florida seafood. I mean, their stone crabs are ridiculous. The snapper, the grouper, the mahi, the fresh lobster tails. Stone crab season will be over in May, so jump in there and go get them. Some of the best I really have ever had in my life. They're located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. You can always go to DelawareChicken.com, or you can call them at 954-983-6831. Check out their updated list of fresh stuff, place an order, tell them I sent you, and send them my love. You are going to be so happy you found them. It'll change your life, at least in the kitchen. All right, so I basically am just browning this meat in that little bit of bacon. If you need a little oil, you can just add a little bit of vegetable oil or olive oil if you want to help that move a little further. At the same time, I'm going to start cooking. Like I told you, I have pearl onions and mushrooms to add to the stew, but I don't want to add that in here because they're going to get lost. So I'm going to do a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of butter. Yeah, about equal parts. And then I've got these pearl onions. These are actually frozen, and I think that they work great in this stew. So I'm just going to add them right into the pan. I'm going to go pretty high with them. I'm going to season them with a little bit of kosher salt, a little bit of black pepper, and let them go. So for this stew, I've already browned the meat. I'm going to go ahead and remove all the meat from the pan and put it right over here. And in this pan, I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetables. So I've got slices of carrots, leeks, onions. All wrapped up in some butcher twine is a little bit of rosemary, 1 sprig, and thyme. We roll it up so that you don't get obnoxious big pieces of herbs while you eat your stew. I've got a bay leaf and 1 star anise. So what you're going to do is you're going to let these get really nice and soft. Add the garlic. We have a little bit of minced garlic. I'm going to add a good amount of just a really good red wine. Not crazy expensive, but not cooking wine because that has tons of salt. And just let that reduce. And while that reduces in, I'm going to go ahead and add all the beef back. But while I do that, I'm also going to start cooking the mushrooms. So I'm cooking all these mushrooms to add into the beef bourguignon when the beef bourguignon is done cooking. The thing is, it takes a good hour and a half for that beef to cook. So you can actually make this whole thing in stages. What I did was I made the beef bourguignon last night, so it's already cooked. And I'm going to add to it these beautiful mushrooms and onions. I think the puff pastry is probably cooked. Yeah. I basically cut the same circumference of a round as the pot, and we just brushed it with a little egg wash and flaky salt. And it seems our hand pies, I put a little spoon there so the paper didn't fly away. Our hand pies are also ready. What I'm going to do is add all this beef and the juices that have been resting here with them back into the pan. I'm going to add a little bit of beef broth. And there's 2 ways you can cook beef bourguignon. One would be in the oven, and the other would be on the stove. I do one quick thing. I add a little bit of, you can do cognac, brandy, or whiskey. This happens to be, I think, a little whiskey. But a shot in there makes it so good. So when you come back, I'm going to go ahead and uncover the already cooked beef bourguignon that I made. And I'm going to add all the mushrooms to it. And we'll see what it's like with that gorgeous piece of puff. Throw it in the oven for just a few minutes so it all kind of comes together. And we'll see how that works out. Come right back for more pie recipes. By the way, all my recipes are always available on the SoFlo Show's webpage. Just point your camera at this quick response code. It'll take you to the SoFlo Shows page. You'll also see the QRC on our ingredient list throughout the show. Come right back and we'll see what we've got going on. SoFlo Taste will return right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste, where I'm all about pies, and I'm all about JA World, as we always are. We're here at this wonderful facility in Coconut Creek, a great place dedicated to our kids and their future. For more information, go to jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. Now back to my pie recipes. All right, everyone. This is the finished beef bourguignon. Look how gorgeous this is. The little pieces of the mushrooms and the onions that I've added into it. To finish off, I add a little bit of chopped parsley, and I just kind of mix that in ever so gently. And like I told you all, I cut the puff pastry and baked it, and it did come out just a little bit larger than this, and I like to set it inside the pot. So I basically just took a knife and I cut around it, in full disclosure, so that it would really fit inside my bourguignon. Put this into the oven just to kind of set it all together and warm it through. It will only take about 5 to 8 minutes, and then we can jump right into the next pie. Beautiful. So the next pie is called Banoffee, for the banana, and the toffee, which will become now instead dulce de leche. So I wanted to show you how the hand pies came out. And look how beautiful they are. It's just perfect. And you can see that the bottom is really, really beautifully crisp, and it's not soggy at all. So this is great to walk around your house or anywhere with. And if they're warm, you can wrap them up in a little parchment. But they really, I'm very proud of how beautifully they came out. All right, so let's jump into the banoffee. So we put dulce de leche, which you can buy anywhere. Put it in a piping bag, because I think this will make your life a little bit easier. This is a graham cracker crust that's been set with a little butter and sugar, just like you would make any like key lime pie or anything you like graham cracker in. So let's go ahead and fill the bottom with the dulce de leche. And this is just our first layer. And as we all know, dulce is one of the sweetest things there are. So we will make sure that the top layer will not be so sweet. All right, let's use like a small spatula just to even it out a little bit. Be careful though, as you know, the graham could get a little loose, and we don't want that to happen. So let's go ahead and make the topping, which is going to be a flavored whipped cream. So this is just some simple heavy cream. We're going to flavor it with a little bit of vanilla and some coffee granules, instant espresso granules. We also have a little sugar. Now be careful with the sugar. Again, we have dulce de leche, so we have a lot of sugar already. So I'm just going to add a little bit of sugar to this and let that go. Okay, let's start on the second layer of the pie, the bananas. And we've got beautiful bananas. So I slice these up in any old way and go ahead and start layering the bananas. Okay, almost done with my bananas. Beautiful. Okay, so that was about 2.5 bananas sliced to fill that part. Let's do another quick. All right, now we're ready. Beautiful whipped cream. So let's go ahead and take our whip, place that over the top. You really want to cover the whole pie. Make sure that everything is covered. I like to cover the graham as well, so that it's a little bit of a surprise when I slice into it. There we go. And then I take a little bit of that ground espresso and just dust over the top. And then of course we love to shave a little chocolate over the top as well, which we have a bunch of shavings here. And the kids love doing the top part of this. This is the most fun. And there you have it, banoffee. Now what you're gonna wanna do is put this in your fridge, let it set. I would go at least an hour up to overnight. Don't cover it with plastic wrap or it's gonna make funny lines on this. And we'll come right back and see how we did. Yay!
SoFlo Home Project is next, right after SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and our show all about pies. Our beef bourguignon pie smells ready. Aldo, can you get in here so that they can see the red wine juices bubbling around the puff pastry? Pies are wonderful things, sweet or savory, fruit or cream filled, or a combination of the two. An entire meal in a pie shell, or a great way to end a meal, or grab a midday snack. And here's an idea, every now and again, try one for breakfast. They are great. Now next week I'm celebrating the Chinese New Year, the year of the tiger. I'll have wonderful home recipes to make Chinese favorites that you and your family will swear came from a Chinese restaurant. So see you then. Now let's check in with my friend and yours, design expert Elena Capra from SoFlo Home Project. Hey Elena, what have you got for us?
Good morning, Michelle. So today we are looking at some incredible entertaining spaces in this 1920s home. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we hope you all join us for part 2 of this fabulous home tour.
So Taste Buds, thank you for joining me today and every week. So be smart, be safe, and be vaccinated. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye, mwah, and good taste, and good pie. I love you very much.